Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Daniel James, and as always, if you're new here, welcome. Today, I've got 4 questions that came off the back of the workshop from last week. If you didn't see that workshop, I've listed it down in the description. You don't need to have watched that to take value from these questions. These questions you will get value from whether you watched it or not. I want to dive straight in. So, first question, what strategies would you use to maintain the positive mindset apart from exercise and the regular meditations that you mentioned? Is there certain foods or beverages or supplements that you could use to help keep your mind healthy? So I'm going to work on the foods and beverages and supplements first, and then we're going to link it back to the strategies to maintain a positive mindset. So the first thing is realizing that although the mind and the brain are two different things, how your brain is functioning will massively impact the quality of your mindset and then subsequently your feelings and emotions. And it's recognizing that the number one thing that you can do to get your brain working optimally is get onto a low inflammatory diet. What does that mean? It's the same sort of principle when it comes to fat loss. If our body's very, very highly inflamed, meaning that it's got a lot of water retention, things are aggravated, things aren't working optimally because we're just feeding it highly processed, high sugary foods, the body's not going to be working optimally because the foods that we consume turn into the cells when they regenerate. So if we're just giving ourselves really poor quality, low nutrient dense foods, then we're not going to be working optimally. And the same with the brain. So it's realizing we first have to cut out all the rubbish food. I'm not saying never have it. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is if you only eat healthily occasionally, that's the issue. We should be having these low nutrient, high calorie, amazing foods, let's be honest. We should be having them occasionally. We've kind of got it backwards. So you want to be having a diet full of good quality meats, good quality vegetables, fruits, again, really good quality carbohydrates, and then high quality fats, because fats ties into your brain. Because the brain is made up of fat. So let's make sure we have enough good quality fats in our diet so that when our brain is, again, the cells in our brain, and especially when it comes to rewiring the brain, when we're creating these new neural pathways, it's called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to readapt to things, we want to be making sure we've got enough fat there so the brain can work optimally, so it's working and firing optimally. So having fatty foods that are very high in omega-3s is fantastic. So again, you've got your walnuts, you've got your oily fishes, all that sort of stuff is fantastic. Flax seeds, once again, are brilliant. So having good quality omega-3s is going to massively impact how your brain is working and operating. Now, if you don't like any of those foods I just listed, get some good quality omega-3 supplements. You're looking for good quality EPA and DHA, and again, high quality is in like the amount that's there as well, and also from a good source. You probably don't want to go down to a local supermarket because any fish oils they have down there aren't going to be good quality. So again, make sure you're getting good quality fish oils there. It's also making sure that you're looking after your gut health. Now, this isn't spoken about enough, but you've got a neurotransmitter called serotonin, which is your feel-good hormone, and 90% of that is actually created in the gut. And there's something called the gut-brain barrier, meaning if your gut's inflamed and not feeling good, maybe you're struggling with IBS or something called leaky gut, where essentially you've got, what I can describe, it's called tight junctions, which is basically the barrier between your gut and the blood. And in your gut, it should be nice and tight with only certain particles fitting through. However, if we're eating really poor quality foods, then these tight junctions can get loose. And what happens is now, because there's a bigger gap, food particles can get through into the bloodstream that basically causes a bit of issue. And because there's something called the vagus nerve, which attaches the gut to the brain, the gut-brain barrier, if our gut's in this state of disharmony, it can also cause that in our brain as well. So we can actually have this blood-brain barrier in the brain, obviously, has the same thing, where actually the brain can become a little bit inflamed. I'm not talking about to the point where it's causing us major issues, but this is where we can get brain fog and all that sort of stuff. So it's really making sure we're prioritizing gut health. And again, we can do things by having good quality food, first and foremost. And then second of all, having pre and probiotics. So again, getting that from a good reputable source, not just going down to your local supermarket, unless it's a health food store, because they're not going to have good quality foods there for you. So that's taking care of the food side of stuff. But the first part of the question was, what strategies would you use to maintain the positive mindset? So it goes to exercise was mentioned. But the biggest thing here is being conscious. And what I mean by that is there's the formula that we mentioned on the workshop last week. So again, if you weren't there, zoom in. There we go. Thing didn't work. So if you weren't there last week, the formula we spoke about was be times do equals have. And that was the whole premise of the talk. Meaning that if you want to have something, positive mindset, for example, we first have to be the person. Because once we become the person, we can then do the thing, which will then give us the results. So much time we focus on doing more. The problem is if we're doing more of the same, we're going to get the same results. So it's just taking a step back and realizing we need to start reprogramming and doing something different. Because only then are good things going to happen. So let's sort of touch back into that. So each day we need to consciously choose to be a different person. We need to get ourselves in an environment that supports this and fosters this. So when we're consuming this negative diet in our body, we know that we feel rubbish, yet we don't actually think about our mind diet. Now, what I mean by that is, what are we feeding our mind? What are we focusing on? And with stuff like this, I'm talking about the news, I'm talking about social media, I'm talking about certain relationships. Is that constantly bombarding your brain with the equivalent of junk food? Because if it is, it's going to make it so hard for you to try and become this person that you need to be, because you're constantly fighting against this environmental input. So for me, it's taking a big step and just looking at your environment. But again, even physical environment. Do you have a constantly messy, cluttered space? Because once again, that's going to be very, very difficult for you to overcome. So start to look at your mind diet. Start to remove your time on social media. My advice is don't even look at the news. At least for the first hour. If you're the first thing you're doing when you're waking up is checking your phone, then instantly you're putting yourself on the back burner, because you cannot control what someone's going to send you. You can't control what news is going to pop up, even on social media. So for me, for the first hour that you wake up, do not touch your phone. Leave your phone on the side, because then it allows you to put on your suit of armor and determine, right, who am I going to be today? How am I going to show up? Because once you're in that frame of mind, if some negativity does come your way, you've got a bit of a gap there and a buffer to actually stop yourself before you go back into your old habitual habits, because that's what catches us. We're trying to force ourselves to be somebody different, but if we've got all this environmental stimulus, it's going to force us back down an old pathway. It's not going to work. Second thing we can do is start to practice identity-based affirmations. Now, affirmations are like self-suggestion, auto-suggestion. And some of you right now are like, oh, don't believe in that, it's a load of rubbish. You're using affirmations in your life whether you are aware of it or not. The problem is your affirmations are things like, I'm so useless, I'm so rubbish, why can't I get a good relationship? Why, negative, negative, negative. Those are also affirmations, but you're affirming the negative. So all we're doing is taking this principle that you don't believe in, yet you're still using, and now we're going to flip it to the positive. So again, what we want to be doing, instead of using outcome-based affirmations like, I want to be more positive, what we're going to say is we're going to use identity-based affirmations saying, I am. So when we say I am, we're saying present tense right now. I am someone who finds opportunities and challenges. There we go. Because what we're then saying is, we're not trying to avoid the challenges of life, because that's completely unrealistic. And by saying I want to be more positive, okay, but life is still going to be challenging. You've got, like I mentioned in the workshop last week, you've got challenge, change, complexity. Those 3 C's are always going to come about. You can't avoid them. So rather than trying to force this positivity, if we can say, I'm someone that finds opportunities in challenges, meaning that when things do go a bit sideways, a challenge arises, change happens, or something's a bit complex, okay, I am the kind of person that finds opportunities in that. Because then straight away we're looking at the person we need to be, because when you find opportunities and challenges, you're going to do different things, which is going to have a different result. It's a really subtle shift in how we speak to ourselves, but it talks directly to that subconscious programming. Because so many times we say this, I am, and it's all negative. I am so useless. I am not good enough. I am unworthy. So start to use the power of affirmations for positivity. Now, the final point in this question for me is using scheduling time for negative emotions. Now, I may say, Daniel, that sounds really counterintuitive. A lot of the times we try and push away and not feel these emotions. Like, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel this. And what we resist persists. So what we need to do is actually make time to honor these feelings and emotions that may not be positive. So when things do arise, give yourself, one of my clients actually told me this, so give yourself a 5-minute funeral. Meaning set a timer for 5 minutes and feel the negativity. If you're pissed off, feel it. If you're angry, feel it. If you're annoyed, resentful, jealous, provoked, hostile, feel it for 5 minutes. And as soon as that timer goes off, crack on with your day. You've done it, move on. What are we going to do about it? We go into solution mode rather than focusing on the problem. You can also journal about this. And again, after 10 minutes, close the journal, and that can symbolize I'm moving on, leaving it behind. Those things are going to massively help you to answer the question, massively help you maintain this positive mindset. But the biggest thing here is realizing that a positive mindset isn't about ignoring reality. I'm not talking about toxic positivity. So many people try and talk about, gotta stay positive, gotta stay positive. Yes, you do. But sometimes life sucks and things happen. You're allowed to feel sad, negative. We don't want to be stuck in toxic positivity where things are going wrong and we're just trying to smile and pretend things are happy. No, don't try and suppress negative emotions. We need to try and create this self-awareness where we can respond constructively to the challenges that we're inevitably going to face. So that was the first question. Again, fantastic question. Second question, what strategies do you recommend with becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable when it comes to achieving your goals? Once again, brilliant question. Now, for me, discomfort is a side effect of growth. When you're stepping out of that comfort zone, so we spoke about this in the workshop, we've got this imaginary comfort zone we've created for ourselves. So we're here in the middle, and then we've got this comfort zone. What you want lives outside of that comfort zone. So when you're stepping out of that comfort zone, this, for most of the time, for most of us, is going to be uncomfortable. It's uncharted territory. And what happens, we step out into that, we don't like how uncomfortable it feels, so we go back into our comfort zone, and we're like, not doing that again. So what we actually want to be doing is we want to start to get comfortable being uncomfortable, but first accept that it's a side effect of growth. If you're feeling slightly uncomfortable, it means you are growing. So stop seeing that as a negative, because normally we can feel uncomfortable. Oh, don't like this, back in we go. Whereas actually if we can recognize, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable, that means it's working. Let's lean into this. That then is powerful. But the way that we work with this is to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations daily. And things we can do with this is simply just exposing ourselves to things like cold showers, because no one likes going in cold showers. I've got an ice bath outside. Never have I once said I enjoy going in it. I don't. But the whole point is I'm putting myself in uncomfortable situations. The more you can put yourself in a controlled state of discomfort, the more you get used to that discomfort. And having things like cold showers is a really easy thing to do. When I public speak, again from last week's workshop, I was nervous. I'm always nervous, whether I'm speaking in front of 10 people, 500 people, or 1,000 people. I get nervous. But I've challenged myself to see that, as I mentioned at the start there, it's growth. When I'm feeling uncomfortable, it means good things are coming on the other side of it. And I see that nervous energy as excitement. So it helps me work with that. But I also put myself in things like cold showers and my ice bath. I can sit with that discomfort and navigate it. Because then when I go into a situation that makes me uncomfortable, I know how it feels and I know how to regulate my breathing. I know how to control my thoughts in that environment because I've done it in the practice arena. So many times you want to be able to control these situations in the moment when you need it, when actually you need to do it in practice, because how you practice is how you play. But sometimes we don't even practice. We should expect ourselves to deal with it. Oh, I know now I've got to control my breathing. Got it. You don't practice controlling your breathing at all, but you think that when you're in that heightened state of emotions, you're just going to remember to control your breathing. It's not how it works. But you want to use progressive exposure. So don't go from 0 to 100. Rather than just go into these extreme discomforts, slowly start to build yourself up. So even just 10 seconds in a cold shower, at the end of the shower, cool. Then go to 30 seconds, then a minute, and slowly start to build up, because that's going to be such a big thing for you. But let's say one of your things is you're uncomfortable in social situations, which again is a massive thing people do struggle with. Starting out at small networking events is going to be, again, daunting for you. But rather than being like, oh my God, I've got to network with as many people as possible, just say, right, I'm going to connect with one person, and that's it. Just small exposure to that situation, and over time it builds that confidence and it allows you to navigate those situations. It's such an important thing to remember. The discomfort is temporary. I don't mean to sound like one of these like David Goggins types that's like, discomfort's temporary, push through the... I'm not trying to go down that route, but it is really valid. Like that discomfort that you feel, if you just keep pushing and persevering, the thing you want is on the other side of that. And by repeatedly doing things that make you uncomfortable and doing things that align with the identity you want to have, that's going to start to become comfortable. So meaning I'm now a lot more comfortable speaking with large groups than I was before, because I know the kind of person I want to be. And the whole thing for me is about adding value. That's all I want to do. I want to add value to you. Don't know you, more than likely listen to this, watching this. I don't know you, but I want to add value to you. Third question. What would be a good way to examine what my current values are and whether or not my past goals still align with them? Now, this is going to sound really morbid, but this is something I get my one-to-one clients to do, and I call it the eulogy exercise. So what you want to do is you want to write down what you'd want people to say about you at your funeral, because this cuts through all the surface levels wants, because a lot of time we think about wants, but we want to try and get to the core values, because no one's going to say at your funeral, oh, I love the fact you had so many cars. They're not going to say that. They're going to say things like he was so kind, he was caring, he was compassionate. He always wants to make a big impact with loads of people, whatever it is, core values. That's what we're trying to find out. So just ask, what would you want people to say about you at your funeral? Or even, if you don't want to go that morbid, what do you want people to say about you behind your back right now? Oh, such a snake, never keeps his word. Or, listen, top guy, anything he says he's going to do, if he gives you his word, it'll get done. Any situation, he can handle it. He'll always delegate it. He'll always tell you the truth. You'll always try and add value, whatever it is, whether it's the eulogy or people say behind your back, but you get into the core values. That's the essence. Because when I did this, I realized, and I've used the word there a few times, that my big thing was impact. I valued impact over achievement. Now, obviously, I still want to achieve a lot. I love achievements. I love getting things, but the biggest thing for me is impact. And it's one of the things where, linking it back to when I public speak, when I am getting nervous, I have to bring myself back and remember I'm here to add value and I'm trying to make an impact. There's one person in this audience that needs to hear this information. I'm trying to make an impact. So that shift makes such a big difference. Achievements will come, go back to the formula, that's the have. But actually when it comes to making an impact, that's something that I can do. I can do that by being the person that I know I am and adding value from a place of love and compassion, rather than going in there claiming that I know everything. Because I've said multiple times, I'm perfectly imperfect. I don't have all the answers. But once we've got the clarification on your values, we can then start to examine the goals you're trying to achieve through that lens by asking these questions. Okay, so whichever goal we've got, ask these questions. Number one, what identity am I trying to embody through this goal? Because if you're pursuing a promotion, for example, in whatever career you're in, is it because you identify as an ambitious person or because you want to make greater impact? Just questions to ask yourself. Second question, if I achieve this goal but violate my core values in the process, will I be satisfied? Because many of my clients realize that their goals require them to become somebody they don't actually want to be. Because a lot of the times the goals we set out aren't actually our goals. There's someone else's goals that we've never stopped to question. And going back to the workshop last week, the boat in the sea of life. If you don't decide where you're driving a boat, somebody else will decide it for you. Third question to ask yourself. If I completely failed at reaching this goal, but I honoured my values throughout the process, would I still find meaning in the attempt? Because if the answer is yes, then your goals align with your values. But it's really important to realise that your goals will evolve as you clarify your values. Because once you kind of understand what you value, you will then realize that some of the goals you've been working towards do not align. And it's also realizing as you have life experiences, your values may also change as well. So it's really important that, yes, as I mentioned, you want to know where you're going, but you can change that at any time. Things are going to happen, situations, events. And again, even like you could be in a relationship and then maybe your partner gets pregnant. Maybe you get pregnant if you're a woman. Listen to this. Okay, your values are going to change. Your priorities, your perspectives are going to change. That means the goals have to change. But if you don't realize this, and again, potentially as a male or again, the main breadwinner, again, the woman, whatever, I don't care. Because again, it could be in the same sex relationship. I don't care. The point is, if you're the main breadwinner and you're valuing money, and then a child comes along and you haven't actually stopped to focus that actually the main thing you value is family, you're still going to be pushing the money and you're going to justify it saying, I'm doing this for my family, not realizing that spending time with your family is the main thing that you value. I hope I'm making sense with this because it's such a key thing that we don't ever actually stop to question. Do your goals align with your values? And have your values changed? Now, the final question here, I think you can take a lot of value from this. I'm really glad this person asked it. What are actionable prompts for journaling and making change with the B times do equals have formula? So I'm going to dive straight into this. I'm going to cut the fluff, go straight into the journal prompts. So exploring the B component. Number one, journal prompts to ask yourself. So again, get pen and paper and just write these out. Number one, if I was already the person who could easily achieve my goal, how would I describe myself? If I was the person who could easily achieve my goal, how would I describe myself? Number two, what 3 I am statements would this version of me confidently say? And number 3, what beliefs does this version of me hold that my current version of me doubts? So again, go back to the questions with the values from the question before. Brilliant tie-in. Now let's look at the do. What is one small action I can take today that aligns with my desired identity? What habits would naturally flow from my new identity that feel unnatural to my current self? Number 3, what would the version of me I'm becoming do in this challenging situation I'm currently facing? And then finally, the have component. What results in my life currently reflect my old identity that I'm ready to release? That's a great one. This is a great question. And again, I pulled these directly from my coaching program, by the way, so I wrote them a long time ago. In life, our identity is like a ball, and we're holding on to this ball, this old version of us. And it's this old, battered, popped ball that does not serve us. It has not helped us, but we're just holding on to it. It's like, no, it's mine. And the universe is sat there, this really nice, shiny ball of everything that you want. And it's saying, hey, I've got this for you. All you've got to do is let go of this old identity so you can catch this new ball. But you don't. You're holding on to it so tightly. So go back to the question again. What results in my life currently reflect my old identity that I'm ready to release? You have to let go of that old way of thinking and being so the universe can give you this new identity. Number 2, what evidence am I starting to see that my new identity is taking hold? And number 3, how can I celebrate the small wins that confirm this identity for me? The most powerful prompt of all is what I call the identity gap question, which is, what's the smallest change I could make that will have the biggest impact on closing the gap between who I am now and who I'm becoming? These are fantastic questions. Thank you very much for sending them in, the people who were actually at the event in person. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys next week.